Hey, this is Mr. Mitchell with a video about the smallest particles and what they have to do with the periodic table. So scientists, after many thousands of years of debate, it seems like, have come up with what they think are the smallest of particles, the proton, the neutron, and the electron. Now, these particles are not object specific. In other words, you can't just say, oh, there's an electron of gold or a proton of oxygen or a neutron of water. They're not object specific, that these three things are at the subatomic level. But all three things make up atoms, which then in turn make up the gold and the oxygen and the water and things such as that. It's not even solid, liquid, gas base at this level. You just have these elements or these particles that are building blocks of other things. And that's kind of what I'm doing in this video, so talking about these building blocks. So scientists have kind of deducted that a proton has a charge of a positive charge. Neutron is neutral, which kind of goes with the name. An electron has a negative charge, and that'll play roles in when we look more into the periodic table. But you can see down here that the depiction has a proton and a neutron about the same size, and the electron way smaller. So scientists think that the mass of an electron is almost nothing. Now, of course, as small as a proton and a neutron are, the masses are very small, but they're saying that an electron is just like not even measurable type small. And speaking of small, these are things we could not even see, the proton, neutron, and electron. So where does that fit in with atoms? Protons, neutrons, and electrons make up atoms. And atoms are the smallest particle of a particular object, like hydrogen and helium and lithium, things that are elements. No, we're not even to the compounds yet, like baby buggies and green slime. We are just to the point of the elements. Here you have a hydrogen atom, which has a proton and an electron, a helium atom, which has two protons, two neutrons, two electrons. Same thing with lithium. You have a certain number of protons, a certain number of neutrons, and a certain number of electrons. And these are called elements, and these are the things that you will see on the periodic table. So you have protons, neutrons, electrons, which are the building blocks of atoms. Atoms, which are elements, are the building blocks of the compounds, which we know as baby buggies and green slime and so on. So let's talk a little bit about what an element is. An element is matter that has only one type of atom. Most everything we see is made of more than one element. Most everything are everyday compounds such as dirt and gumballs and carpet. But we're talking about only a few dozen things that are elements on this earth. And they're all on the periodic table. They are all elements, and they are the building blocks of our everyday compound. So when we're talking elements on the periodic table, we're talking about things like hydrogen and oxygen and helium and xenon and gold and silver and lithium and aluminum and boron and nitrogen and carbon and things such as that we'll be working a lot with. When you put those things together, they make the everyday compounds that we have. Something like carpet or dirt or gumballs, you can tell there are elements that make them up, and you can actually trace them back to the periodic table. So we kind of have this situation, I have it down here, that protons, neutrons, and electrons are the building blocks of atoms. Protons, neutrons, and electrons are not object specific, but atoms are. You can say there is an atom of a certain element. Atoms are the building blocks of elements. Elements are the things that are on the periodic table. You can say this element has so many atoms of such and such in it. Elements are the building blocks of everyday compounds. So these things on the periodic table make up everything on Earth and everything that we've seen in space so far. So everything can trace itself back to the elements on the periodic table, which can trace itself back to individual atoms that have protons, neutrons, and electrons in them. Hope you learned a little bit. Talk to you later.